Hey, it's the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner, and this week on the Pete the Planner Show, we're talking about my two favorite things: power percentage, the one metric in your financial life which tells you just about everything you need to know, and inexpensive wine. That's right, it's my show, so we're going to do what I want to do. This show is about getting you to never worry about money again, because that's all we want. That's all you want. That's all I want. That's why we dream about winning the lottery. That's why, if we have an uncle that's 105 years old and we're the only heir, why we're like, come on. Because we don't want to worry about money. That's why people like to keep a cushion in their checking account, an extra $1,000, a buffer, a cushion, a barrier. People call it all sorts of stuff because they don't want to have to worry about money. All of the things I've just described are unhealthy ways to not worry about money. This show is to get you to not worry about money in a very, very healthy way. And to begin that, we do need to understand what power percentage is. I talk about it all the time. It's a metric we created all the way back in 2016. And here's how it works. Power percentage is a measure of how efficient your income is. Okay, think of all the weird ways people measure whether or not they feel financially healthy. If I come up to you on the street, I'm like, hey man, how's your financial life? Number one, that's really weird. That's just super weird way to walk up on someone and be so interrogative. Number two, you would make an evaluation on a few different elements, and these elements are what stink, right? Maybe yesterday, I approach you today, maybe yesterday you had a bad day. Maybe you got a medical bill in the mail, maybe you had to take your dog to the vet, and you're in a bad mood because now you have $800 bill that you have to pay, and in the previous 24 hours you didn't have a plan for that. So when I say to you this morning, how's your financial life going? You're going to evaluate that question based on your situation. So it's on your mood or on your stress level, which is strange. If I go to a married couple and ask them individually, how's your financial life going? That's why you often get separate answers, is because one person's mood or stress level is different relative to the next person. That's not a good way to evaluate your financial life. Hey, how are things going? Pretty good. What are you basing that on? I just feel good. No, that's garbage. It's BS. You can't do that. So what's the second way people typically answer the question, how am I doing financially? Debt. So the second way is debt. If you have a bunch of debt, if your net worth is negative, what you'll often say is, it's not good. Whew, man, I'm worth less than nothing. That's also a terrible way. I have a good friend that we used to play cards all the time. I stopped going because it turns out I was the guy invited to the card game to lose. I used to think that it was because I'm a funny guy. I'll tell some jokes, drink some Crown and Cokes. This is in the mid 2000s. That's what I was doing then. And then it turns out I always left without my $20 bill, and someone else would take it. Anyway, we were at cards one day and we're talking about financial stuff, right? And so this guy says, well, my father-in-law has about $30 million in debt. And the rest of us were like, what? He has the $30 million in debt, and we start sweating, probably because of the Crown and Cokes. But we start sweating and we're like, that's unbelievably terrible. And he's like, well, you have to realize the guy's worth like $100 million. And don't get caught up with the numbers here. What I'm trying to get at is a bunch of debt doesn't mean you're in a bad situation. If you just graduated from college and you got a ton of student loan debt, yeah, so does everyone else. Get in line. But if you're addressing it, then your financial life is going well. If you're not addressing it, if you're just kicking the can forward, then by the way, you're struggling. Now, how about we evaluate not mood or stress, not debt, but how about income? Now, this is a sucker's bet. Okay, so I used to work with professional athletes a lot, primarily on their strength training, financial strength training. Although I did play 5 weeks of college football. It's important for you to know that, and I will show you a picture someday, and it's important for me. So I worked with professional athletes with their money, and they make a lot of money. And if they define themselves by making a lot of money, of that's how they're doing financially, not a good situation. And the other side of that is I can find people that make $35,000, $45,000 a year that are in great financial standing, that are very stable and in control. $30,000 to $45,000 compared to $3 million a year that some of my athletes were making, it's a big difference. That's true. This sounds like, well, it's a moral victory. It's not a moral victory. If I can show you someone that has a more stable life at a $35,000 a year income than someone that makes $2-3 million a year, that is real. That's not a moral victory. That's how I know that our retirement crisis that we're in the midst of is fixable, because every single day, people that make a lot less money than you did your entire career, than you're going to your entire career, will successfully retire because they live within their means. And also, there are people that make 10 times what you make that are in much worse situation than you. I don't know why we feel so compelled to compare ourselves with other people, but I'll get to the perfect way to do that here in just a second. Now, the final way that people try to compare themselves to the question, how are you doing financially, is the amount saved or already invested. Now, this one's decent, but it's got some pitfalls. Let's go back to the old uncle example. Your uncle's old, and now he's moved to post-retirement. He's dead. What I'm saying is your uncle is now dead. I'm very sorry. He was a great man. He told great jokes. Except that one was really inappropriate. I don't think he should have told it at the bris. That was weird. Anyway, let's say he dies and leaves you $25,000, and now you have $25,000. Did you do anything other than outbreathe that guy? No. And so how's your financial life? Well, you have $25,000, but it doesn't mean it's good. It just means that you breathed longer than that guy. So what we want to measure is your current financial activity. How are you doing right now? Not how did you do in the past or what are you going to do in the future, which is the big mistake people make. Well, I'm gonna is a really dumb thing to say about your financial. Well, no, just what are you doing now? So we created this term called power percentage. And I want you to calculate your power percentage this week. That's your homework. Nothing like watching a show in which you get homework. I don't even know, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're calculating power percentages. If you want to put them in the comments of today's show, feel free. If you want to hit me on Twitter at Pete the Planner, if you want to email me about your power percentage or recommend things for the show, such as get a different host, ask Pete at PeteThePlanner.com. Here's how power percentage works. What we need to do is we need to take your gross monthly income. Gross, people get net and gross confused, which is fine. Gross means before taxes, before benefits. It's just raw income. So if you have a $60,000 a year salary, that means your gross income is $60,000 a year. And your gross monthly income of a $60,000 a year salary, 60 divided by 12, is $5,000. So we want to take your gross monthly income and set it aside for a second. What we're trying to determine is how much of that $5,000 is used for good and not consumption. That's not to suggest that consuming and living in your lifestyle is bad, but I am here to recommend and to suggest that if you cannot stop consuming so aggressively by the time you hit retirement age, you ain't retiring. You are not retiring because you are too dependent on work income. The second you get your first job, you start picking up all sorts of expenses. I remember I got my first job. My dad's like, well, now you got to pay for your gas and your car insurance. And I would go on a date from time to time. Now, listen, going on a date with me in high school had to have been, I just would like to apologize to those ladies right now. They've moved on with their life. They've forgotten my names, but it was a terrible experience. But anyway, I picked up expenses. And so when you pick up expenses, then your job is to try to break your dependency on those expenses. But what happens? You get more income, you get more expenses. You get more income, you get more expenses. This concept is called lifestyle creep. Here's what a lifestyle creep looks like. It's creep. Your job is, by the time you retire, is to be done with that. To break your dependency on your income. And the way you do that is you use your income efficiently. So here's how we're going to measure this. All right, grab a pen and paper or a stylus and a papyrus. And write down all the good things you do with your money, but I'm going to give you the list of what those are. First off, retirement plan deposits, probably through your employer. If your employer doesn't have one, maybe it's what you put into an IRA or something like that. But retirement plan deposits on a monthly basis. Now, I don't want percentages. We'll get there. I want dollar amounts. So if you've got a $5,000 gross monthly income, let's say you put 10% of your income away into your 401k or 403b or whatever. That's $500. Now, here's what I'm going to let you do because I'm a generous guy. I feel like I'm making you a cardio. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow you to include the contribution that your employer makes in the form of a match. So if your employer matches 5%, if you put in 10, then that means they're putting in $250. So far of the $5,000 salary a month, you're putting $500 away. The company's putting $250 away. So far we're at $750. Now, go ahead and add in any other investment you make over the course of a month, any other savings deposit you make over the course of the month, college savings, non-qualified savings, anything, as long as it's not going to be immediately consumed. You know, some people have vacation funds or Christmas club funds or whatever. Don't count those. You're just pre-planning to spend that money, so you can't include those. But you can include, fill in your emergency fund, as long as you're not going to just take it back out and you know you're going to take it back out. Next, you get to include the principal amount that you pay down on your mortgage every single month. Now, there are multiple parts of your mortgage that you need to understand if you happen to have a mortgage. There's the principal and interest payments, principal being you're paying back the loan. Interest means it's the cost of borrowing. And then there's property taxes and insurance, which are often escrowed for a lot of people. I'm interested right now in knowing the principal amount that is paid down in any given month. If you're not a homeowner, you're not including this in your power percentage. If you are a homeowner and you're paying on your mortgage, then what we're doing is we're saying how efficient is the type of mortgage you have. A lot of people like to say, well, I like a 30-year mortgage because of the flexibility. That way I can just invest the difference. When they say that, what they're saying is a 30-year mortgage is generally less expensive than a 15-year mortgage. And so that difference in payment, they assume, I'm gonna invest that money off to the side, which no one ever does. If you do, good on you. Great job. Although doing it the other way, it has its benefits as well. So we're going to take the principal payment and add that to your deposits. Next, we're going to add in any other debt payments, medical debts, credit card debts, student loan debts, anything you are paying on a regular basis, except credit cards that you're regularly using. Okay, so if you're the person that uses your credit card all month and then writes a check and pays it off at the end of the month, you cannot include that in your power percentage, the check that you write at the end of the month. But if you're paying down a balance, by all means, because paying down debt is the same thing as saving money from a net worth perspective. It does the same thing. If after watching this show, you're like, wow, this is a great show. I want to send this man $1,000 in cash. And let's say I have $1,000 in debt because I had to buy this pig. Let's say I have $1,000 in debt, nothing saved. You send me $1,000 of gratuity for watching this show. I can either pay down the pig debt, right? And then I have zero in debt and zero in savings. My net worth is zero. Or I can save the $1,000 and I got $1,000 in debt, $1,000 saved, and my net worth is zero. Same thing, right? So savings and paying down debt are the same thing. That's why from a power percentage perspective, if you combine both what you're paying down and what you're saving and investing, you get a really good picture of how you're doing financially. You also can include health savings account deposits as long as you're not in a situation in which you use those monies to pay for healthcare in a given year. Currently, I'm in a situation, I'm pretty sure I just jinxed myself. I'm in a situation in which we make full deposits into our HSA, which is like $6,700 a year, and we don't use it right now because things are going all right. I don't look healthy, but it turns out most of my stuff works, and I'm not going to pay for hair treatment. So $6,700. So that I get to include that in my power percentage on a monthly basis just by divided by 12. Do not also, as we're running down the list of things that you can add up, do not add in car payments. It's a lifestyle thing. Do not add in car payments. So the goal is to add in all deposits, savings and investing, your principal payment on your mortgage, any debts that you're paying down on a regular basis, you get to add in those payments, but you cannot add in consumable payments. You cannot add in credit card payments in which you're paying off at the end of the month. And so we're going to get a total, right? We're going to get a total of these numbers. And the goal is to take this total and then divide by your gross monthly income. So let's say that of all those things I just added up, I get to $1,000, okay? And I know my gross monthly income is $5,000. So I go 1,000 divided by, I told you there'd be no math. Actually, I did not make you that promise. 1,000 divided by 5,000 is 20%. Your power percentage is 20%. But without the scale, that means nothing to you. To get the scale, join us next. I'm just kidding. Let's hit the scale. If you're below 10%, it's not good, dude. It's not good at all. If you're below 10%, it's not good at all. Here's what you're thinking. Oh, but I got a lot of debt. Oh, well, great. Then if you're paying on it, you're going to have a higher power percentage. The people that are below 10% are the following two types of folks. those at or below living wage. Okay, if you're at or below living wage, which is a technical term that says what it costs to live in America, for what other circumstances, if you're still in school or whatever, if you're at or below living wage, you're probably less than 10% on power percentage. Okay, well, that's okay. There's frankly nothing you can do about that. Living wage truly means you can just sustain living. The second way people are under 10% is actually a problem. It means you either have debts that you're not paying on, big problem, or you have no debts and you're consuming your entire income. Because if you weren't consuming your entire income, you wouldn't have below 10%. This is the perfect way to sniff out people who feel good, don't have a lot of debt, have a lot in savings and make a lot of money, but aren't doing jack squat right now. That's why power percentage is powerful. If you're between 11 and 20%, 11, 20%, it's okay. It needs to be higher. It really needs to be higher. And I know there's another thought people have. It's like, well, I make a lot of money, so it's okay to be between 11 and 20%. No, it's not. I had someone the other day emailed me. They make $650,000 a year. I know when I say these big numbers, sometimes it's really easy to get caught up and be like, oh, use a voice like that. But they make $650,000 a year, and their power percentage is like 20. That's not good. If you make $650,000 a year, your power percentage should be 40. Let's hit the rest of the scale. So 11 between 20, 21 to 34, okay, good. 21 to 34 is good. 35 and above, perfect. Make that move? I don't even know what it is. 35 and above is perfect. And that's what we want you to do. That is the goal. The real goal, though, is to move your power percentage up 1 point per year as you progress. Right? That's the goal. So my power percentage, I tell you this not like, oh, look at me. But if I'm hosting a show about money, and I've written books about money, and I read a column in USA Today about money, and my money's not on point, then turn off the show. I'm at 47%. My personal goal is every year to increase that by 1%. I'm 39 years old, so by 59 years old, I want to be at 67%. I want to be at 67%, which means I only need 33% of my income. That's what I'm consuming. The rest is going forward, because the only debt I have is my mortgage. So therefore, the rest is being saved or invested for the future. I measure decisions based on power percentage. When people come at me and they say, oh, we got $500,000, I don't actually care. That's why, in the financial world for so long, I was a financial advisor for a long time. And when people come at you and say, well, we only have $20,000 to invest, and in the financial world, this is a dirty secret, but it's not that secret. It's hard to find a financial advisor when you don't have a lot of money to invest, because they can't really make any revenue off of you. But what I always look for when I talk to people now, even though I'm not a financial advisor now, is what's your power percentage? Because that's how I know whether you're engaged in the process or not. So run your power percentage. You got to know it. I want to know it. At Pete the Planner on Twitter. You can put it on my Facebook page, but I don't want to go on Facebook. There's too much stuff I don't want to see. So go at Pete the Planner. And of course, in the comments of this video, you can just list your power percentage if you want. Email me, askpete@petetheplanner.com. Speaking of great things, coming up in just a second, our wine expert, Mark LaFay, is here. Yes, my show, because it's my show. I can do whatever I want. We have a sommelier on this show, which is a word that I can say, but probably can't spell. Sommelier is a wine expert. And Mark LaFay will be here. We're talking inexpensive wine. If you like wine like I do, then you're going to want to drink wine on a regular basis because it's delicious. But you don't want to mess up your power percentage because you're spending all your money on grapes, right? So Mark will be here to help us. So that's next here on the Pete the Planner Show. All right, so something very important to me, and by important I mean it makes me happy, is the delicious rotten grape juice. That's right, wine. And if I'm going to enjoy wine, I always don't want to spend a tremendous amount of money on wine. So every month or so here on the Pete the Planner Show, I'm going to have wine segments in which we feature wines that are about $10 or so. And to do that, I need a sommelier. I need a wine expert, and I have such an expert for you. His name is Mark LaFay. He joins me now. Mark, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So, Mark, by LaFay is French for the Fay. Am I correct? Mark the Fay?
Yeah, Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I've heard a lot of different things.
We'll have to get on Ancestry.com and check that out. You are a sommelier. You got your first level designation there. Is that what I understand?
Yep, that's correct.
You and I have drank wine together.
Indeed.
It was delicious.
That's awesome.
We're going to do it again
I hope so.
right now.
Okay.
All right, so you brought 3 wines for us today to try. They're about $10 each or so. Where shall we start? We got our designated glasses behind the pig's bacon and pork belly. So where do we go?
Indeed. Well, we're going to start off with a screw top wine called Vidiano.
Okay.
So this is a red blend.
All right.
It comes from Umbria, which is just south of Tuscany.
By the way, there is a restaurant in Boston called Umbria Prime. Very delicious. I just wanted to seem worldly, so I brought that up.
There you go. And I'm going to pour very little in your glass because we need you sober.
Well, that's not true. All right, so this is a blend, a red blend from Umbria. And how much does this wine cost us?
So this is going to run you about $9 in Indiana, maybe 10.
Okay.
If you are outside of Indiana, you could probably get it as cheap as $7 or $8. It just sort of depends.
Are you suggesting the liquor mafia in Indiana is a little heavy-handed?
I have no comment.
All right, well, I do, and it's true. If you're joining us from somewhere outside of Indiana, which is likely, you actually cannot buy liquor on Sundays in Indiana because of the blue
laws.
Blue laws. We're very godly and awesome, but I'm drinking wine today. So
In the middle of the day.
Very fruit forward, ton of fruit.
Absolutely. So this is definitely a fruit forward wine. It's sort of an odd wine when you think of Italy. You don't tend to think of Cabernet or Merlot, but this is a third. So we've got Cabernet, we've got Merlot, we've got Sangiovese.
I like a 100% Sangio is a very good one. This seems like it'd be good with spaghetti and meatballs.
Or pizza with pepperoni.
I do like pepperoni is an important element because it's fatty and it's a little bit spicy, and this will help with that.
Absolutely.
You're a big believer in wine pairings, as am I.
I definitely am. Yeah, wine should not be consumed by itself.
Italian wines are very distinct, I think. They take some getting used to if you're a domestic wine drinker.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, the thing about Italian wines, which is considered an old world style because it comes from Europe, is that their process of making wine is less sterile as it would be in the New World. Whereas we might do things in stainless steel and wineries that look more like surgery centers than they do actual wine
Sure.
wineries. In the old world, they're using old oak. They're using things that have been around for a very long time. So you've got a lot of that natural flora that just sort of
Funk.
permeates, everything, and it gives it. I would say in a lot of cases, sort of that. Think forest floor. When you're walking in the forest, it's been raining and there's wet leaves all over the place. It gives it that sort of earthiness, that muskiness to it.
I like it. I just noticed you're wearing your sommelier pen.
I did that just for you.
I appreciate that. Look at that thing. It's shiny.
Shiny and new.
I know. How long have you had it?
It's been about 5 months.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's good.
Yeah.
So I like this wine. This is a total midweek wine. You're having some pizza. You're having any Italian food with a red sauce, and it works.
Absolutely. And I personally don't believe in rating systems just because one person's palate may not be the same as yours.
Sure.
But for frame of reference, this is a James Suckling 91.1.
We're going to create our own rating system here on the Pete the Planner show. I'm doing this on the fly because this is how I work. I say we call it the Peter system. You can give it 5 Peters. Is the most you can give a wine is 5 Peters. For the was it QPR? Is that what we call it?
QPR.
QPR. What's that quality?
Quality price ratio.
Quality price ratio. I'd give this I think 3.5 Peters. Right, that's quite the party. 3.5 Peters. Pretty good. Let's hit the next one here. So that's an Italian blend.
Italian red blend.
Yeah.
Okay, for our next wine, we are going down to a Spanish. I guess we'd be going up and over.
I like the way the mic picks up the wine being poured. Mm-hmm. It's like you might have to pause the show, turn to the restroom. It's that pouring water sensation.
Yeah,
but anyway.
It's very soothing. So we've got an Honora Vera.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this is a Spanish Grenache. This comes from a region in Spain just south of Rioja by about 100 kilometers. I'm going to butcher, but it's Catalayud.
I believe it's Catalayud.
Okay, there you go.
I don't know. I'm just making it up. But I'll tell you this. I think Spanish wine, people completely ignore Spanish wine, and it is delicious.
Absolutely.
And it's well priced, and it's hard to find a bad bottle of Spanish wine. We were drinking a Tempranillo. It's like $7 a bottle. Mm-hmm. Really good stuff. It's called like Flaco or something.
Yeah. Did you get it at Costco?
I think so. I called it Joe Flaco.
Yeah.
It was not exactly an elite wine, but it was serviceable.
Well, very drinkable. Well, the nice thing about this wine is that it's 100% Grenache, and if you want a value, Grenache, Spanish Grenache is the way to go. So
How much is this one?
this one is about an $8 bottle.
$8. See, you can drink good wine for less than $10. You can. I would be very pleased with this. It's a little tight. A lot of tannins on this thing.
Yeah, there's a little bit more booze in this. It's about a 14.5%.
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
going to have a little bit of a burn.
The end of the show could get a little nasty.
Absolutely.
Do some White Castle later.
That's my tell as well.
You know what we got to do coming up next time you're on. Let's do. And people have done it before. I don't really care. I'm unoriginal. I want to do Girl Scout cookie wine pairings.
Sure.
Could we do that next time you're
Absolutely.
here? I just got some Girl Scout cookies. Have you had this batch?
Yeah, we've just started slamming Samoas in our household.
Have you had the new s'mores?
I have not.
All right, this is your tip of the week here. The s'mores, Girl Scout cookies, game changer.
All right.
Game changer. They're going to make it along with the tag-alongs and the Samoas. Like, they're going to make it into the rotation. I always have a third one I rotate in. I'm not a Thin Mint guy,
Okay.
clearly.
I love Thin Mints.
Are you put it in the freezer? Is that your thing?
Yeah, we would. We put all those cookies in the freezer.
Yeah, the Samoas get a little hard in the freezer.
I don't know if that deserves the eye roll, though.
Well, there's a certain sort of person that puts Thin Mints in a freezer, and you've just admitted to being that sort of person.
Sophisticated. I like it.
I'm trying to think what I would eat with this.
This you could do with, a rice dish. It's definitely going to go with something that's a little bit more bold.
Yeah.
A little bit of spice to it.
Actually, a paella would be really good with this. Not that I make paella at home.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a versatile wine. It's cold outside, so Grenache to me is a great wine to drink just because it's a little bit bolder. I mean, Grenache is also, you get a lot of dark fruits with this one. You're going to get some plumminess. You're going to get some dark cherries, but you're also going to get a lot of jammy characteristics, which I like. So it's a good wine. It's good for most occasions. If we're 90 degrees and humid outside, I probably wouldn't drink it. But
Probably not going to work. I don't like, and this does not do that, but some Grenaches cross over into dried fruit. Just they can kind of cross over like a Douro or something like that. And not for me. Not a dried fruit in wine. Although I like port, so I don't know how this works. But for $8, I mean, come on.
Fantastic. Well, I don't know that I would necessarily even give the caveat. This is a great wine for $8. I'd say this is a pretty solid wine.
Yeah, it's fair. This would be really good in sangria.
I don't know that I would do that to this one. I think I would save that for the Charles Shaw.
Look, we're not naming names. Oh, actually, we are. That's delicious, and I like the label, which is a way people say they like wine when they don't know anything about wine. But I like the label.
Well, you can always judge a book by its cover.
Sure. I mean, for me, for instance, I'm a really good dancer. You wouldn't think that by looking at me, right, Mark?
I would never assume that.
All right.
All right. So
What do we have here?
Now we're moving up in the intensity scale. So here we are.
What is this? 19% ABV?
Intensity as far as flavor. So this is 100% Cabernet. This is the Substance Cab. Great wine. Columbia Valley. This comes from the same family of wines as K. Vintners.
Okay, yeah.
So really great wine producer.
The label reminds me of, what's it, the Charles Smith labels?
This is Charles Smith.
It is Charles Smith.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Look at that. That's either impressive or it's sad that I can tell who made a wine based on the label.
I think that...
It might be sad for me.
I think that that's great. It means that you know your vino.
So Washington Cabs, Columbia. One of my favorite for the value Washington Cabs is it's Horse Heaven Hills.
Okay.
H3. It's delicious. It's a cab. It's like $8. What's this? How much?
This one's actually pushing the threshold. This is about a $14 to $16 bottle, depending on where you get it. So you're high rolling with this one for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a great wine. You're gonna get lots of strong black fruits in this one as well. You're gonna get a little bit of oak. You're gonna get some spiciness that comes with that. It's really smooth. I personally think it's a fantastic wine, especially for the price point. On the Peter scale, I would give this one 4 to 4.5 Peters.
Oh man, don't go throwing Peters around. At least wear goggles. On the second wine, I would give it probably. I didn't give it on the Peters. 3 Peters on this one. This one, I really like it. It's 4 to 5 Peters. This is a wine drinker. If you like wine, and maybe if you don't even know much about wine, you're gonna like this. If you know a lot about wine, you're gonna be happy with this.
Absolutely. No, this is a great wine. Absolutely a great wine. Not a large production. You can find it in most places.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good smooth.
A little vanilla to the back end of that thing. So this would be good with a steak, be good with mushrooms, be good with...
by itself and if you're alone.
Yes, alone with others. I like to drink when I'm on the road. Here's my life on the road. When I'm out on the road, I'm in some random hotel. There's a bar. I'll go there and I'll read news on my iPhone and I'll drink a glass of wine. I probably would order something like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great wine. And I think that you can go to Washington and get a good value for Cabernet. As soon as you get further, a little bit further south into California, that's when your price point starts to spike.
You know, earlier you brought up $2 Chuck, Charles Shaw, which is people that don't like to spend a lot of money on wine, but like wine, like to go that sort of Trader Joe's super cheap wine thing. Thoughts? I mean, that's certainly a category of wine, but we've taken a step beyond that.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is commercially more recognizable than some of the other labels you'd find at Trader Joe's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like it. This is good. So we can. That's what we'll do on the show. When Mark is on, we're going to stick around $10 wine. We may go up a little bit. We may do Girl Scout cookie tastings. If you want something in particular in the comments of this here show, just let us know what you want us to. Let us know what you want us to drink.
And how much?
Yeah, and then how much you want us to drink. But we could do cheap bourbon tastings on this show.
Absolutely.
Beer. What's your obscure liquor that you're drinking right now? You're always pushing the envelope.
You know, I mean, I'm a whiskey guy, absolutely. You know, I just picked up a case of Heaven Hill 6-year white label, which is bottom rung bourbon. You know, it's $11 a bottle, but you can't get it in the state anymore. And for a 6-year-old bourbon, I mean, it's a great deal.
All right, so we're gonna do that next. Bourbon tasting next.
Perfect.
Well, after the Girl Scout, could we just make the whole show about drinking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark LaFay, if people want to get in contact with you and say, hey, where do you get your beard products? Where can they find you?
So just send me an email, mark@oldmajormarket.com, or check the website out, oldmajormarket.com.
Fun fact about Mark, he makes his own charcuterie.
That's right.
And if you know me at all, you know how much I love cured meats. And I've had your cured meats, and I give them 5 Peters. They're so delicious.
Thank you. I've never gotten 5 Peters before.
Well, it's fun. All right, Mark. Well, thank you. People go and drink this wine. All 3. Let's bring them up here.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't reach them. Put your wine glass in. We've got this one from Washington. We've got the Italian blend, and then we've got the
Spanish Grenache.
Spanish Grenache.
Garnacha.
All right. So the winner for the day, if I may, and I may because it's my show, it's this one, and then we go second place with the Grenache. And then third, actually, no, I give second place to the Italian, and then third is the Grenache, just because it's a little hot for midday. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I have work to do. So, Mark, thank you, my friend.
Absolutely.
All right, coming up after the break, we're going to wrap up the Pete the Planner show. So we'll be back, and you will never worry about money again. All right, so we just tasted some delicious wine, feeling good. Drinking wine in the afternoon, arguably there's a problem. So this show is about getting to never worry about money again. Now, you might be sitting here thinking, oh, I don't care about this stuff right now. I don't really care. Not what I'm saying. You've got to earn the right to not worry. And if you've got a high power percentage, you've already began to earn that right. Focus on your power percentage, and then you can stop worrying about money. Now, over the next few weeks, I'm going to show you different elements of the set here as we put on shows for you. And by the way, if you have a show idea, ask Pete at PeteThePlanner.com. But we got some cool stuff on the horizon for you. We're going to understand the financial lives of different people's jobs, stand-up comedians, and I'm fascinated by the financial lives certain people live based on the profession they choose. We're going to have Ask a Lawyer, Ask a Doctor. We're going to have fitness experts, everything that will contribute to your financial life. So let's pick something on the set here to understand what it is and why it's here, because everything's here for a reason. I'm going to grab it. Stand by. We'll go with my prized possession. Yeah, I know you've been seeing this the whole time. You're like, man, that guy loves Pringles. Yeah, I do. I actually do love Pringles, but this is very special to me. This can is from the 1970s. You can actually see it's 42 cents to purchase it. It's from the 1970s. This was my grandpa Dunn, my grandpa's bank. So when I was a little kid, when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, I'd go to my grandpa's house and see my grandma and grandpa. And in his little office, this sat on a windowsill. And I remember the first time I saw it, I can actually visualize this. I remember seeing it and thinking, I love Pringles. Break me off some Pringles, Grandpa. And he said, it's not Pringles. And he opened it up. And I looked inside. It's his coins. So my grandfather fought in World War II, and then he came and got a job in Indiana at General Motors, where he met my grandma, fishing from the company pond, Grandpa, come on. And he had 8 kids. Now, that's a tough life in the 1950s and 60s and 70s to have 8 kids. It's tougher today in many respects. But he really cared about every dime he spent. And so when he'd come home from work, he would drop his coins in this can, and this can was used to fund things for the family, believe it or not. Maybe grab donuts on Sunday, and with 8 kids in the family and 2 adults, you got a half a donut, right? We're not talking, hey, you get 2 or 3 donuts like my kids do today. You get a half a donut, because that's what happens. So for years and years, I go to my grandpa's house, and this always sat there. It's where I learned about money. It's where I learned about what money can do to you and how it can fund your lifestyle. My grandpa was very special to me. So when he passed away in 2014, my grandma gave me this. And I don't believe in prized possessions, as you would hope. Don't take financial advice from a person that has prized possessions if it's not a Pringles can. But this is my prized possession because it reminds me of my grandpa. And so it's very special to me. It's always been at my home office, but I thought I'd bring it here onto the TV set. So you can learn everything you really need to know about money from a can of Pringles. And it's his change. I don't even want to touch it. That's where I'm at. Like, I'm sure there are coins in here from the 1960s and 70s and 80s. I don't even want to know, right? It was keep it sealed forever there. Although I did open it a little bit earlier. I'm just not going to touch it. All right, so that's this week's Pete the Planner Show. If you want to learn more about what we do, go to PeteThePlanner.com. And we, of course, have got a podcast and a radio show if you would like to listen to those as well. I encourage you to do it. It's called $1 Million Plan, and it is on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you consume such mediums. So thank you for watching. Our goal here is very simple. We want you to never worry about money again.
This is where I came from. Planet Lovetron, where we drop love bombs, funk missiles, and live in soul shelters. No helter skelter. The heat don't swelter because everybody stays cool. Left many moons ago to bring the philosophies of my ancestors to another place. God picked the third rock, gave me to my earth family, and told me to create. And so I am. Pen in my hand, microphone on the stand. Over vinyl, I command and demand. Magnificence in an instance. I can make it dance, cry, or love. Fly as a dove, released from Everest. The fresh is fresh, and you can call me E.T. Word to John Tesh. Let me bless this harmonic presentation. It's amazing, so amazing. I'm the reason. Salutations, I bring you Lovetron greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Lovetron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it? The tinkling of the keys is an homage to the little star. I sojourn over poetic descriptions of sound and travel to my other world. Out of this world, spaceship on my arm took me home, fueled by the ink and the megabytes and the hypertext transfer protocol, stronger than the Skynet and the Terminator. I push fade.